friends. All right, you guys. So we are in the last days of 2020. Can you believe that? We are, oh my gosh, we're like ending like in days, right? So I don't know if it's gonna zoom by or it's gonna go really slow, but we'll see. So one of the things I like to do is in the last end of the year, I like to write things out that I want to leave behind, things that I do not want to take with me, things that I've overcome. Maybe there's some struggles, whether it's a mindset or a thought process. I'm like, Lord, I don't want to take this with me in 2020, whether it's right now, whether it used to be, whether I'm overcoming it now, whatever it may be, whether it's the hurt, the pain, the sadness, ugliness, whatever it may be, I want to leave it behind. Now, some of the things that we have gone into, just so you think about it, we've gotten into the survival mode because we have been in a pandemic. Oh my gosh, we're dealing with lots of, everybody's having this traumatic experience and the way they're processing. Some people are processing it, some people are not. Some people are just buckling down and pushing through, and that's not always good. And just a side note, and I like to tell everybody this, it's okay to cry. It's okay to cry, especially you Christians. I mean, oh my gosh. I swear, people think like you shouldn't be crying, you shouldn't be sad, you should always be joyful, 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 joyful. Yes, have joy of the Lord, but it's okay to cry. It's okay to have a moment be like, Jesus, this is hard. And have that moment with him and share that with him and give that to him. Do that. It's okay. Now, the thing that I would get worried about as someone who's like a counselor, I swear, like, it's like, there's a difference between crying right now and you unto the Lord and crying every day for months. Like, then there's something wrong and then you need to get some help. There's a big difference. So I'm not saying to stay stuck in your room, and mental health is very important. So I pray that if you're struggling with something right now and you just don't know how to get out of it, one, first and foremost, yes, seek God. But it's not always just that. Sometimes you need help. So I pray that you have the strength and the courage and the boldness to go seek help. Now, back to my list. My list is like you write the things down in 2020, the things you want to leave behind. But everything that you have written down, there is something good that came out of it. You may not realize it, you may not see it, and so it may be hard. So I say, like, write on a sheet of paper on one side, write everything that you want to leave behind that you don't want to carry over in 2021. And then write what good came out of it. If you can't see the good came out of it, then just wait, because the Lord will show you, or pray about it. Maybe it's already happened or maybe it hasn't yet. But at the end of the day, good will always come out of it. God's word never returns void. And he says in Romans 8:28, so seek him, and he will show you those things of what that is, what good came out of those hardships, those trials, those moments of when you cried yourself to sleep or whatever it may be. Now, another thing that I kind of want to talk about, as we talk about audience of one, that's the biggest focus, is, we kind of know when we give our life to Christ that he is number one in our life. Like, he is first and foremost number one. We know that, right? Like, especially, you've been saved for years, you put him first, you tithe first, you, go to church first, whatever it is in the process and the order of your life, God is first and foremost. But one thing that I've realized, it's not just like once we reach that understanding that, oh, God's first, check that off. Okay, I already get it. I understand that. God is the God that he takes you from glory to glory, level to level. God is God of depth. If there's a universe that we can't find an end to, and he's the beginning of the end, that means it never ends. There's a great depth. There's a deeper understanding of who God is. And with that being said, if we're a reflection of of Jesus Christ, right? Then who we are as our identity, we're going to continuously learn more. The closer we get to God, the more we're going to learn about ourselves and who we are. I think a lot of times we overcomplicate who we are, our identity, and a lot of times because our world, especially now today, is so full of distractions, whether it's social media, TV, all these apps, all these great things that you can start doing and creating and working and hours and whatever it is you put your mind to. It's like all these distractions, we've lost the focus of really cultivating our relationship with Jesus Christ. It's not just like, okay, I have a relationship with Jesus Christ, end of story, all right, let's move on. No, it's a cultivation. Think about it. Is your relationship the same today than it was when you first got saved? I mean, be real. Like, and that's kind of a hard thing to ask yourself. Like, is your relationship the same that it was? Have you just been maintaining? No, it should always be cultivating. It should be growing. Like, oh my gosh, like I love God more than I ever have before. And before I thought I already loved him just like what I did now. Like I thought I loved him more. And I know that as much as I love him now, that I can't see myself loving him anymore because I feel like I love him to the fullest. There'll be years from now, months from now, that I'll be like, wow, I loved him more than when I first said it now. So guys, it is like a cultivation. It is like a renewing. It's we're imperfect people. So with that being said, one of the things I like to point out is, you know, when Jesus Christ talks about love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? First he says to love him with all your heart, soul, mind, body, everything, all of you, right? But to love your neighbor as yourself. So first and foremost, two things I want to point out. First of all, who's your neighbor? Your neighbor is everybody and anybody. It's not the people who you like. It's not the people who are like you. They're not your Christians, or whether you think they deserve it or don't deserve it, whether you have your reasons or justifications. If your reasoning and justification why you love or you don't love someone, then that's conditional. Even when you love them and you think, well, I'm doing of God, but if you love them because of something, not just because of just to love, then there's a condition put it. So first and foremost, your neighbor, you love them regardless, right? But that's something to kind of ask yourself, who's your neighbor and do you love all your neighbors? Think of the least person that you like the most. Just be real, right? Think of the person who you really could care less for, you don't like. I mean, let's be real. You don't have to tell me. It's a one-sided camera. I can't see you raising your hands and telling me what you could do or you don't. I can't read your face. So think about it. Can you love them the same as the person that you love the most? Can you love them the same? Now, I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you need to go hang out with them and go to the movies with them, be their BFFs with them. I just said love. Just love, period. With no conditions. But also, too, how do you define love? How do you define what love is and what love isn't? Maybe that's something to kind of go back to. Now, another thing I want to talk about is when Jesus talks about how when you visit me in prison and when you feed me and when you love the least of these and when you clothe me, then you are loving me. Like, that's who I am. That's where I'm at. So think about it. Think of the least person that you love the most and think about how you're loving them. And if Jesus says that that's him, that's how you're loving him. With the lack of love, with the lack of your ability to let go, whatever offense, whatever thing that you have going, your ability to love them not as much as you should because of whatever reason, then that's something you got to deal with. Now, this video is not about condemnation. Like, no way, by no sort. I'm telling you, but I'm also telling me. Like, I'm one of those people, like, I'm sharing with you what God is sharing with me. Because if I can't love the least of these, if I can't love someone and I can't go visit and spend time and set time aside or set justification why I don't like someone because of this or because of that, then something's wrong. Because I'm supposed to love them the same amount of love that I love myself. So, all right, so check it out. So I love my neighbor as myself. So second, we've already talked about the neighbor. Let's talk about ourselves. Now, I've kind of talked about it. I'm going to kind of just go over it a little bit. So when you love your neighbor more than yourself, if you're one of those people that's a people pleaser that, no, I want to do things for people, I could do more for them than for myself, then obviously that's not right. That's not God's love. God's love, you will share the love that God has given you to them, which means you accept the love, you can receive the love. Not only can you serve others, you can allow others to serve you and love you. You can receive gifts. It's not hard. You receive it because you're receiving it on behalf of God, because of God. You're being blessed because of God, not because of you. There's no attachment of you did good or you did bad, whether you deserve it or don't deserve it, whether you're worthy or not worthy. It is simply because of God and God alone. So it's just something to think about if you're struggling to receive love. Now, this is another food for thought that I kind of will leave you here and in the video here. So another thing I want to talk about is when you love your neighbor as yourself, think about it. How do you love yourself? Now think about it. How do you love yourself? Now this is a revelation that I never even thought about, but oh my gosh. So one of the things I've told you, I'm very hard on myself. And one of the things is that, like, if I do something wrong, like, man, I should have did it right. Like, I should have done this, I should have done that, I should have that. Yes, there's always great to self-evaluate, but I'm talking about when you're hard on yourself all the time. That's another form of loving myself. That's how I love on myself. Now, is that really love? No, it ain't. But what my point is how you are to yourself. How are you to yourself? If you're telling yourself, man, I should have done better. So think about it. love your neighbor as yourself. So this is something that I want to share real quick. So a few years back, I remember when God showed me that I struggled with not feeling good enough. And that was something that it was like, okay, yeah, I don't feel good enough. Sometimes I feel this and this, not, or whatever. But he says, but because you don't feel good enough and you have yet to deal with it, and that's how you love yourself, that's how you are to yourself, that's how you treat yourself, that's how you treat others. And he began to show me this. He gave me these like flashbacks of people, of things that I said. And let me tell you, you see, if I don't feel good enough, anything that anybody else does, it will never be good enough. Now, I know you say, like, because I've said it too, I would never, ever want to make anybody not feel good enough the way I felt. Ever. Never. But see, I was. Because if I continuously say, Bonnie, you're not good enough, Bonnie this, Bonnie, you're unworthy, Bonnie, then I'm going to then, in turn, see through that same filter on someone else. Regardless of how much I don't want to hurt somebody. So it's something within myself. Love your neighbor as yourself. First and foremost, know who your neighbor is, know what love is, but also too, my friend, love you. Love you. It's not what you do, or how you do it, or when you do it, or how much you do it. Whatever. God's love is is imperfect. I mean, it's perfect. Like, meaning like his God love is perfect. Like there's no imperfect in it. I guess what I'm trying to say. Like God's love is like so amazing. Like sometimes I think it's hard for us to comprehend. And I think just when we think we comprehend it, it's like a whole next level of understanding. Like his love will never change. If we never grow or change from here on out, his love will stay the same. If we decide to grow and better ourselves and you know, get healing and this and that, his love is still the same. Think about it. His love is so great and so vast and so amazing and so enormous and so big and so, well, I think you get the picture. It's like not enough words to come up or to even describe the understanding of how to express God's love is, because it is so wide, it's so great, it's amazing. You get it? You get what I'm trying to say? Like, so my point is learn to love yourself. And if you don't know how to see yourself, if you don't know how to love yourself, then ask God to help you. Some ways to see whether you love yourself or not, if you have a hard time of receiving compliments, people blessing you, loving you, being nice to you, if you're always feeling suspicious, any good thing that someone tries to do for you, if you struggle receiving any of that, then that's your way of, that's a red flag of how you see yourself, that you don't love yourself enough to be able to receive it. If you're suspicious, the other thing is that if you feel like someone gave you something and you feel like you have to give something back, then you're not understanding the true meaning of the gift that was given to you originally. So like I said, I'm telling you this, but there's something that I've been learning on my own that I'm sharing with you guys. So audience of one, this whole thing is all about if we can love ourselves in a greater way. And I'm not talking about superficial love, but if we can love ourselves the way God loves us, if we can receive the love that God has for us, then when we love our neighbor, how much greater is that? Think about it. If we can love our neighbor so much greater, think about where this world would be if we can love our neighbor, right? So the whole focus is audience of one, you guys. I am looking forward to 2021. I started doing these videos and trying to get back into the hang of things, trying to find my rhythm here. So you guys, I love you. Merry Christmas. I hope you had a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Write your list down. Also too, I've been praying. I will share with my word for the year at the beginning of this year, like I did last year, or the beginning of this year, right? So what is your word for the year? And that's something that I say that you pray about. Ask God to give you a word. This is always really important because you're not focused on like 500 million goals, and God really does work out. I carry every word over. So every word that I've had, like my word this year was consistent. Last year was identity. I have words of forward, trust, obedience. I have a whole list of words that still carry over, that God tends to bring up every once in a while. Balance, different things of that sort. So I love you guys. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. It's going to be an amazing year. Continue to believe that, continue to trust God, and let's do this together. Love you.